Nazo, Kosuga Loko. We're back again for another great episode of the AMATYMA series where I get to have candid and unscripted conversations with men who are single, married, divorced, or widowed. Doesn't matter what your social standing is. I just want to have a conversation with men. It's such a beautiful, time to live where we can just sit and talk because we know very well that men don't generally like to talk about how they feel. And today's guest is a very dear friend of mine, a brother of mine, someone who gives probably one of the best advisors. I don't know where he gets this wisdom. I don't know where this guy gets. I don't know where he gets this advice from, but he's
it's actually the worst advice.
Listen here, I'm talking for myself here, and I haven't even introduced him. Can you see the type of person that I'm going to deal with on this particular show? Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome NGCAYISA. How are you, bro?
It's actually LUPHUMLO. We have since done away with Lupi. I'm old now.
Oh, so no longer Lupi.
But it's LUPHUMLO. Good afternoon or good morning or greetings.
whatever time it is around the world. Okay, so it's LUPHUMLO.
It's LUPHUMLO, okay. And I think how that came about, and of course that's my name, and I struggled mourning my mom.
Right.
I think one of the most difficult things, or one of the most painful experiences life, or to have been visited upon me by life, was the passing of my mother and the circumstances under which she passed on, which I will not, details of which I will not get into right now. So it took a while for me to recover from that because I was incredibly close to my mother.
Yes.
And secondly, how she passed and circumstances leading to her passing were the antithesis, or rather the opposite of everything that she had wished for to not to happen. And so my mom never feared death in a way, so she spoke openly about death, and I mean, she was just one of those people. If it is that I'm wise, I'd like to attribute all of that to her. She was incredibly wise. She was very frank and pragmatic as a person. So of course, I mean, death is inevitable to all of us, and so she had written a whole lot of things, and so as a result, even when she passed on, it was very easy to do what needed to be done and to avoid family conflicts and because she had literally written down everything.
Do you think she was preparing
in her handwriting?
Do you think she was maybe preparing you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's a question of, and this is where drawing back to the wisdom, because in life, we're here to prepare for the next move.
Sure.
We may not necessarily know what that looks like, or whatever that is, but I think we're blessed with the instruments to somewhat navigate and to understand. You could never be best prepared, but you can always prepare to the best of your ability.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
So now when it took a while, and I went through a very, very dark space. I struggled, with my mom's passing. It was and it took a while for me to yank myself out of that dark space. And when I did, which was at the beginning of this year, in fact, on the 1st of January, I then decided that actually I'm LUPHUMLO, because that's the name, and it's just in honor of my mother. And if you were to ask me what the meaning of the name is, I mean, uphumla is to rest. So LUPHUMLO, I would then say figuratively, it is he who shall provide room or enable for rest. And I think she was resting. I'm the youngest of 5. She had me when she was 40, and all I did for as long as she was alive was to live up to my name, and I'd like to think that I did that.
Sure.
But it gives me great pleasure. It pretty much makes me feel all kinds of joy and beauty and love and warmth when I introduce myself as LUPHUMLO, and when people address me as LUPHUMLO, it just feels good.
Thank you for that.
So sorry for that long introduction.
It's okay. I think it's important. I also think it's important for people to know and understand, and appreciate it. And from now on, I would even change the name to LUPHUMLO.
Oh yeah, I love that.
I've had Lupi all this time. I've known you for a long time. I was still young when I met you.
Don't make me sound that old. But yes, we've known each other. We actually met you in 2002.
Yes.
No, I'm lying. It was not 2002. It was actually 1999.
Yes.
1999 going into 2002. And at the time, I was fairly new in Johannesburg myself.
Yeah.
And we used to party a lot. And there was just always this kid.
Oh, Papa.
Oh, Papa. He was such an irritant. He was
A lovable one, though.
an annoyance, but an adorable one.
Yes.
An adorable one. And you've always had focus, and you always, you always had ambition, and you were always there in our midst.
Right.
We will club stage was the club at the time, and then we'll
Oh
have
my goodness.
conversations.
In Randburg. Was it in
Randburg?
Randburg?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was in Randburg.
Yeah.
And we'll always then say to the person who brought you into the picture,
Yes.
hey,
Wenzani lo mntwana?"
nathi la. But it's just been great.
Yes. it
Having
is.
known you for this long and having witnessed all these, you morphing into, what you've morphed into now. I was actually thinking, I always think about when you were when you were busy with you were still with the Total.
Yes,
at
it's
the
in
time,
Rosebank, yeah.
In Rosebank, a couple of years later, of course, and you were one of the very few who had gone and enrolled for the program for chartered marketing.
Yes, for chartered marketing, CMSA,
And,
yes.
and,
Oh, you remember that?
and it was yes, and I remember when you were going for one of the exams,
Yeah.
and I bumped into you. It was for the first time seeing you looking so perplexed and
nervous.
nervous, because I had never ever seen
that side of me,
And I
yeah.
recall when you got it, it was such a joy.
It was
Such a joy.
It was an achievement and a half.
Absolutely. Then there was the other. You see, keeping that was
Hey, Mamela, I show you how I'm later.
Then there was a time of that other engagement to a dear friend of mine, but we're not going to go there. It was a very painful time, and I think then I resented you for quite a while.
Yeah.
I was just not too happy about
How things
panned out. It was very painful, because here's the thing: as friends, and I
Yes.
guess as AMATYMA and then there's everybody else, when you're friends with people introduce people into your lives, and you become one.
Of course.
And then when these then romantic relationships, disintegrate,
Yeah.
after one has created this one big community,
Yeah. Then the
now you
splits.
are left with the other party, and you're not getting any explanations. And I just felt that at the time, it was just very unfair
Sure.
on us as friends.
Yeah.
How you handled the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I somewhat resented you for quite some time, and then the love then superseded, and I then stopped resenting
And you're
you.
sitting here right
And
now
then-
in front of me.
Yes.
So for those that don't know LUPHUMLO, who's LUPHUMLO? Who's LUPHUMLO?
It's LUPHUMLO is jeepers. It's a train in motion.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
I posted about, and I know I'm going about it the roundabout way in responding to your question, but I think it's important that I bring this just for context.
Yeah.
There's purpose. People ask, what is your purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very difficult, piercing, hard question
To answer, yeah. It's not that
to
simple.
respond to, because if you're a musician, it's easy, I guess. If you are a gynecologist, if you are an oncologist, if you're a sex worker, you can just say I'm a sex worker.
Of course.
And my purpose was to deliver
services.
Hinduism 9.
Yeah.
But when it's not that cut in stone, it becomes very difficult to respond to. So when you say who's LUPHUMLO, all I can say right now, LUPHUMLO is someone who strives to humanize others, someone who strives to spread love and give love, someone who strives to teach. I enjoy teaching.
Oh, and that you do.
And lastly, LUPHUMLO is just someone who is trying to make the most out of this extraordinary gift, which is the miracle of existence.
Sure. Love that.
That's who I am.
Love
For
that.
now. Tomorrow it could be
evolves.
something else. It evolves.
This is life, and
It
we
evolves.
should learn to evolve. You spoke a lot about the relationship and the dear relationship you held with your mother, and you shared a lot of that on your social media.
Absolutely.
You took us on a journey of your relationship with your mother up to your last.
This water is
days.
quite nice.
Oh,
what is it? Normal water? Is it
Bogart Radio water.
Bogart
It
Radio
gets
water?
made at the Bogart Radio Valley of the Waves.
I mean,
You don't even know what the
Taste
Valley
it.
of the Waves is.
The only Valley of the Waves that spring to mind. It's all Kesner's.
not that one.
Tastes good.
I also need to alert the viewers that this guy's a broadcaster, apparently. Also, you know, so he can turn things around, and he's very good at that. He's a spin doctor. I was saying that you took us through the journey with your mom, which was beautiful to watch, and also it made a lot of us who still have our moms still alive to appreciate them more and spend more time with them, because we just saw how important she was to you. Is your dad still alive?
My dad passed on in 2013. It is unfortunate. Didn't enjoy the greatest of relationships, you know, with my dad. I say unfortunate in that no child deserves that.
Of course.
My dad was an extraordinary man. He was incredibly smart. So I guess, you know, if I look at the two of them, at the risk of sounding all arrogant,
He's gonna say he's smart. Listen to
I
this watch.
picked up. I think I've got my dad's intellect. He was incredibly smart. He was smooth. He was a great guy. And I remember as a kid, because my parents were not married.
Right.
We're 5 kids. My sister and I, we share a dad.
Okay.
And so, but my dad was obsessed with my sister.
Okay.
Growing up, my dad was doting towards my sister. I didn't exist in my father's life.
Sure.
I didn't feature. And it hurt so bad. And I did my level best trying to ingratiate myself, you know, to my dad. I wouldn't say he resented or hated me or anything like that, but
Yeah.
the dude just never had time for me. It was a question of you acknowledge, you're here, all good,
You
blah,
exist,
blah,
yeah.
how's school, all right, you're doing, because he would come in.
But there was no
visit.
personal relationship.
But there was no relationship. You know, I remember I'm revealing my age now, in 1980, 84, 85, 86,
Yeah.
you know, there were riots
Yes.
and things were quite bad in PE where I'm from, so we had to be sent to the homeland.
Okay.
And my dad was from, his family is in the Seasky,
Right.
the former Seasky.
Right.
And so I remember the conversation going on that my sister was going to be sent to my maternal side of the family in Hankey, which is part of the Eastern Cape, where his sub-department is from. My mom's side of the family is from there, and I was to be sent to King Williamstown.
So they basically
Ezwedicha.
split you guys.
Yeah, Ezwedicha, you know, I was so thrilled because in my head I was like, yay, finally,
Freedom.
you know, dad's gonna be there, I'm gonna get to spend time, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get to know this guy better. You know, Tato, this is 86.
Yeah.
I was in standard 2. I don't know what the heck is standard 2 now.
Yeah,
It's
grade
grades.
something, eh?
Yeah, you're not there.
Yeah.
And I only saw my dad that year. I only saw him 3 times.
In that year.
In that year.
Sure.
And in that year, he also got married. So there was a beautiful woman that he was married to. So 1986 was one of the most traumatic years of my life, because that was in my head, in my tiny little head, as a little kid who had been yearning for his
that father,
father's
yeah.
affirmation,
Love,
attention,
yeah.
affection, and all of that. I at that moment, I think by September that year, you know, I was like, okay.
You made peace.
I made peace with the
Yeah.
fact that, look, this dude ain't feeling my
This is
ish.
the reality.
This is what it
Yeah.
is. And I think that then sadly impacted on our relationship going forth.
Right.
And it is quite sad. Be that as it may, closer to his passing, we had someone there was a time when I was running the school shoes, you know, campaign.
Yes, I remember
collecting
that.
school shoes
Yeah.
and distributing school shoes. So we had collected. I mean, the campaign was great, and I remain eternally grateful to those who supported
Yeah.
the campaign. I mean, we got to in those years we. Cumulatively, we got to collect about 350,000 pairs of school
I
shoes.
remember. That was a
And
powerful
we used to
campaign.
travel and distribute those. So there was a time now where I partnered with UMHLOBO and NAFM,
Yes.
and we were to deliver shoes within that region.
Yeah.
The part of I was to fly out from East London, and I then reached out to my dad and I said, hey, you know what, I'll be
I'll be in
around.
the area.
I'd love to see you. and he was quite excited, and then I think he was quite surprised that I reached out.
Yeah.
And I went to see him, and we spoke briefly. I won't tell you. Okay, I digress. So my dad was handsome. He was a
Right.
good-looking fella.
You think you got your looks
and
from
he was
him?
a ladies' man. No, I look more like my mom.
Okay.
I look more like my mom. I do have a bit of traits. Oh, am I handsome?
I think you're good looking.
Oh, thank you. We love
Handsome
that.
man.
We are rather vain. We are vain. So, and I remember even as a kid, I knew that my dad was a ladies' man. And there was Losisi, she was a school teacher, just up the road.
Right.
So even the one that he was married to, makafikile angamtholi, because remember I only said 3 visits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phezulu, yeah.
So it was actually quite. So I get
It was
home.
predictable.
I get home. So I then said, you know what, I don't want to embarrass my dad in front of the people that I was traveling with. So I asked the team from the SABC,
And then you went by
and then I
yourself.
went by myself to my dad, and I didn't find him at home. And no one knew where he was, and I was like, I know where this nigga is.
I'm not
I went up.
blow his cover.
I went up the road.
And you found him there.
There he was. But and we spoke, and what he said to me, which was so profound, was that this may come across as an excuse for not having been as present as I should have been in your life.
Mm-hmm.
However, owing to the life that I led, because then I discovered that ubabam bekastoned, bekaphusha imokolo, beyenza into, bekadayisa insango, ngapha imoto nananana. So his take was that I wanted you loved me so much, and because you're such a loving person, my biggest fear to expose you to my love was that I feared that you might turn out to be like me.
Sure.
And I didn't want that.
So he was shielding you
and
from
I
all of
opted to therefore not
Distance
be
myself.
there and to distance myself, because I didn't want to expose you
Sure.
to the life that I led and a life that I'm not proud of.
Sure.
So that was the turning point. And at that
Can you
moment,
imagine that?
I got to understand. But it still serves as no excuse
Absolutely.
for
There is no
fathers,
excuse.
for fathers to be absent,
absent.
because
Yeah.
I mean, think of the agony, think of the trauma, think of
And
the
lost time.
rejection, lost time, and think of how the absence of that relationship later impacted on my relationships with the
course.
world as a whole.
Of course. I mean, we
so-
see it unfold with a lot of broken men because of the childhood traumas.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I think, yes, I acknowledge that moment. But I remember also leaving in our parting ways. My dad was such a gangster. He's like, hey, daughter, and I need to put you breadwinner, hey, meluthatha policy ngiyagama la ngoba sengizawufa
He was preparing himself.
And shortly after that, he passed on.
Oh man. So rest
Yeah,
in peace.
I never took the policy. I'm the rich now.
But you had
Jokes aside.
you had the conversation.
Yes,
you
we did.
You're a
Yes, we
father.
did.
You're a father.
Yeah, father of two. My
father of two.
daughter is about to turn 30. My
Right.
son is about to turn 10.
Right.
And my granddaughter, whom I love dearly, she's about to turn 2.
What type of father are you, Luphumlo?
I'm an enabler.
Yeah.
I am what the larger society would describe as a dad who spoils his kid.
Yeah.
I don't refer to it, or I don't regard it as spoiling the kids, but rather I indulge my kids because I was indulged by my mother.
Yeah.
There was, as a kid, my mom, we were devastatingly poor.
Yeah.
Need I add? I mean, I slept on the floor until I was in standard 9. That's just how bad things were at home. And we used to have bread and tea for supper. Life was bad, so bad, such that at age 14, I started working. I was pushing trolleys at Pick and Pay and just, just to help out.
Yeah.
But we never felt it because, A, there was so much love. And Mom, may her dearest soul rest in peace, Mom indulged us. I got clothes once a year, but it was great quality clothes.
Yeah.
So, yes, other kids would have, back then, I mean, it was Pierre Cardin, sneakers and bicycles and It's a Pleasure shirts and all those other things. They would have them, we will just have to wait. Okay, I never got to have the bicycle.
Yeah.
But it was a question of, I can't
Wait
get
your
it to you
turn.
now, but wait your turn.
Sure.
It
And it's
will
coming. Yeah.
So I was indulged. But over and above all of that, I think what my mom gave me and or passed on to me rather, and which has now come to define my style of parenting, is you had liberty was very important.
Sure.
So choice was valued. So you had choices, you could choose. I'll give you an example. With my boy now, Paulo, because we live together.
Oh no, we know everything about Paulo. Shout out to Paulo. He's growing, eh?
He's a big boy.
Hey, yeah, Mavitana.
We've been living together since we were 18 months
Yes.
old, and it's just always been the two of us. Well, until about a year or two, but now we're back to being back to normal.
Okay.
So when we buy snacks,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to illustrate a point. When we
Yeah.
buy snacks, it's his snacks for the week, right?
Right.
And he knows. So I then allow him to self-regulate. I say, okay, these are for you for the week.
Right.
Should you run out,
You're on your own.
you're on your own.
Yeah.
So it's that type of, that's how I parent. I present the different scenarios as they are.
Sure.
And then I say, these are your choices. You choose
decide.
this, you choose that.
I like
So
that.
if you choose to overindulge in that ice cream, you know that your tummy doesn't take, you know that you are lactose intolerant, and you know that you're going to end up being sick. And when you are sick, I am not going to go to the doctor if I know that the source of you being sick is you having indulged in that.
Sure.
So I indulge my kids and I negotiate. I'm very big on negotiation. And the reason for that is I don't think humans don't take too kindly to being dictated upon.
Absolutely.
There isn't a single human being that likes taking
be
instructions.
instructed, yeah,
We don't want to
that's
be
true.
instructed.
That's true.
So when you are instructive and when you're too authoritative, what you're building is you're just building rebellion.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be misguided. It's important for kids to, in my view at least, it's important for their voice to be heard, for them to understand that they are allowed choices. Sometimes some choices are good and some choices are bad.
But choices need to be made. either
Choices
way.
have to be made.
Yeah.
So I'm very I would say in a nutshell, TT, I'm very open-minded, very liberal, sometimes liberal to a fault.
Yeah. To your own
to
detriment.
those to my because I mean sometimes I just like okay.
Yeah,
there's so
sword
much.
with
I
this.
remember
Why did I agree?
it's like when my daughter was when my daughter was giving birth, she wanted me to be there, and then she started sending the images, and I'm like,
I don't want to be there.
things I don't want to see.
This
I
is
don't
my
wanna see
daughter.
my
After all,
but it's beautiful. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Sure.
So I am that person that I'd like to think, and having witnessed it with her and her being at the age that she's at, of course I can't really say much about Paulo because
Sure.
he is yet to
You're
develop
still
and grow.
going through the process.
But
yeah.
if it is that this formula that I've long adopted, I've seen it working with her. As such, we enjoy an incredible relationship. It's transparent, it's open, we can be vulnerable towards each other. I prefer it that way. So I
Yeah.
prefer the soft approach
Sure.
to
'Cause it
parenting,
works.
and I prefer the friendship route. They're not my friends,
Yeah.
but there's a great sense of the overall sentiment around the home and
Yeah.
how we interact within that tiny little ecosystem of ours.
It works.
It's premised on friendship and respect,
Yeah.
and when our feelings are hurt,
Yeah.
there's space to say I was hurt by this and this and this and that, and it can be dealt with before it manifests, and then we move on.
There's
to the
mutual
next.
there's mutual grounding, and I like that. So what do you have to say to a guy out there? He's got kids. He's absent. He's just absent. He just chose to not be a part of the child's life for whatever reasons he may have. What do you want to say to a guy
Look,
like that?
we don't. We need to first of all acknowledge that we don't live in a vacuum.
Yeah.
And there'll always be circumstances, and it's not always easy. And I follow a lot of discussions on fathers who are absent, and some would cite that I'm being deprived, I'm not being given
Sure.
an opportunity to do this, the family, the this and the this and the this and the other.
Yeah.
My argument is always going back to my own experience and how not having a father impacted my life.
Yeah.
And I would say, if it is that your being absent is a consequence of those tips
Factors or whatever.
with the family,
Right.
be it the law, be it this and that, fight.
Yeah.
Fight to be there.
Sure.
You just cannot live a life where you know that you are a part of someone by blood, and yet you're not present in their lives. They need you. It's a fight worth fighting for. Fight until the bitter end. That's number one. To those who have chosen for selfish reasons, because there are those who are selfish, and I think also society is largely to blame.
Yeah.
By the way, for absent fathers, because society should have long taken a stance that if it is known within our circles or within this family that Utato has a child, but Tato is not, the family should do its level best to rein Tato in. If it is struggling to rein Tato in, then it should vomit Tato out. Tato should not be accorded the status of being an integral part of this family. And the honor. Yeah. Tato should actually be even rejected as an ba.
Yeah.
The family should say, we disown you.
Sure.
Because Ulihlazo.
Sure.
You know?
To the family.
To the family.
Yeah.
Friends should not be comfortable
hanging around someone like that.
And hanging around with a dude that they know is a deadbeat.
Just because he's got money or he's probably paying the bill.
Absolutely. You shouldn't. You guys should be able to say, nah, dude, you know what, you're a cool cat, but that Tina, we go back to our kids. And when our units are abandoned for whatever reason, you're not going to be part of us.
Sure.
And to that guy, you look, whatever your inflictions, try to resolve and try to find peace. And you're missing out on so much. You're missing out on an opportunity to correct the wrongs. Yeah. I look at what is currently happening with Paulo right now. Paulo has given me an opportunity to really live the life I never had.
With your own father.
What a wonderful gift it is to be able to live vicariously through him, and to enjoy all of these things that I never had. Yeah. So you now have an opportunity to enjoy them, and you're enjoying them with somebody else.
Sure.
So find it within your heart, absent dad, to forgive yourself, own up, and fix and try and build that relationship.
Sure.
Being a dad or a father or by timer, it is one of the greatest things, one of the greatest giftings this life could ever give you.
Because there are men out there that can't even have kids.
Absolutely.
And that's something that you can never take lightly. There are men who are looking to have kids, but they are unfortunately.
Definitely. And to those guys who cannot procreate naturally, kids don't necessarily have to be product of your loins. There's so many kids out there that are seeking guidance, and the adoption doesn't even have to be formal.
Absolutely.
You can actually father without necessarily having gone to Home Affairs.
Absolutely.
And you can nurture, groom, grow, rear, and look after and shape someone's opinions. And it's incredible. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Being a dad is it's greater than jeepers.
Yeah. And it's not limited to biology.
Oh no,
being an uncle is
absolutely
any time,
absolutely. It's of course. Yeah. And I think that I'm liking what you guys are doing though, because what you've done is you've identified that there is an appetite to do better.
Absolutely.
And I suppose it is through these conversations that guys can actually realize that this thing is a wonderful thing and it's a gift and that should never be taken for granted. So I wish to express my sincerest gratitude to guys out there who are trying. It's very difficult being a dad or a father when there was no one.
There's no point of reference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you can always create it, and the best way to create it, you create it by saying, what was lacking, what did I need?
Sure.
So they bring it to the fore.
Wow. LUPHUMLO, I thank you for your time. I can't believe we actually ran out of time, but I knew this was going to happen with you. I have so many other questions to ask, so I'm going to ask you to come back. You have got a well of wisdom that's sitting.
I am not sharing all that there is to be shared. But thank you.
No, but I just want to thank you for this, because we are teaching men to open up, to speak about things that bother them. A lot of suicides, the highest rate of suicides amongst men, and it's most of the reasons is because we bottle things in. What parting shot do you have before I let you go to that man who's thinking of taking his own life?
You're thinking of taking your own life because sadly you've allowed yourself to fall for the script. And there is no dangerous script that the script that gets flipped to the boy child and to men. That yours is to be austere, yours is to provide, yours is to be this strong, yours is to be that. You're human. Before the gender or the sex that was appropriated, you're human. Operate on the basis of you being human.
Sure.
Once you start embracing your humanity in its entirety, you would understand that you are not exonerated from life's challenges and life's problems.
Sure.
So there's suicide is a sensitive issue, of course, and it should be avoided by all means necessary. But what's key, liberate yourself. Because once you've afforded yourself the liberty to be human, to be vulnerable, you've won.
Nizwile bafethu. Liberate yourself and never forget to be human. Sivala lapho sithi danko. Danko Luphumlo.
Thank you.